Friends and subscribers, this is China News for June 2013. A lot going on in China this month, obviously, and we'll get right into it. A lot to cover here. Gold miners held in Ghana. A report that I had brought to you earlier before. There's huge problems in Ghana and, in fact, other places in the world where Chinese miners are causing problems with the locals as far as coming in, taking resources, affecting the environment, and causing crime and corruption in local economies where Chinese companies are legally and illegally taking precious metals and other resources from poorer nations. There are actually some gold miners being held in Ghana, and in conjunction with that, China continues to evacuate or to request that many miners do come home after 169 gold miners were detained in recent crackdown of murder, rape, robbery, and other types of corruption in Ghana. Big problems there. We'll definitely hear more about that going forward. And at the same time, what we have here is more, this is connected, more xenophobic attack in France. There have been several of these. China and Chinese nationals traveling abroad have been victims of some anti-Chinese sentiment, and this has to do not only with economic issues but also cultural differences and other factors. Now, this is more and more common now. Recently we saw that a young Chinese tourist defaced an Egyptian monument, an ancient Egyptian monument, and this caused outcry throughout the Middle East, and the lack of respect for Egypt's tourism industry and their ancient monuments that are a cornerstone of Egypt has lowered respect for Chinese and raised anti-Chinese sentiment. So gold, silver, we know, dropped significantly, and this is kind of a news story here that I wanted to bring to you. Rare bowls made for Chairman Mao fetch $1.5 million in Hong Kong. 5 rice bowls were auctioned off that Mao Zedong had used at one time. These are just common rice bowls. Nothing too spectacular about them, but they go for $1.5 million. Outrageous, you say? Yeah, but a lot of these collectibles and things are going for higher and higher prices, and meanwhile gold and silver and other commodities are dropping. So where's the disconnect here? How could these things be going up but gold and silver be going down? This keys us into definite manipulation, and should encourage us to buy more gold and silver, because it is a deal of the century compared to all other things. When you have rice bowls going for a massive amount of money, art, antiques, cars, and even movie memorabilia, we can see that the world is out of whack, and the stuff that is real and the stuff that has real intrinsic value is at an all-time discount. Work like a dog and suffer with the economy shrinking here, and with more and more concerns on the future state of the Chinese economy. More and more people are put under the pressure of longer work hours. 600,000, the number of people who die from overwork in China every year. This is the numbers coming right out of the government mouthpiece, okay? The actual numbers may be a lot more than that, but even with these approved numbers, it's still quite shocking. 76% proportion of white-collar workers are not in good health, according to China Medical Doctor Association. 60% proportion of white-collar workers in metropolitan cities such as Beijing and Shanghai who frequently work overtime, some of them with no pay. And this is a very common thing in China, to have overworked employees and not getting compensated, and having to work like dogs, and in some cases crawl on your hands and knees, like the video I showed you about a month ago. Economists puzzled by state of the economy. Policymakers hesitant about next step as money supply increases a lot. Well, what they've done is they put controls on the banks because there has been a massive amount of increase in liquidity. The economy raged too hot, too much foreign investment. In fact, now the debt to GDP ratio has risen from around 212% to debt to GDP to 225%. Major problems with these banks right now. The only saving grace that they really have is that the central government owns and controls all of the banks, so they don't have any private bankers to, adhere to in regards to their monetary policy. But still, these problems are not going to go away. Economic confidence levels drop as the RMB raises in value, now 6.12, 6.13 to $1 US. We see that the banks are in big trouble here. And this signals a huge problem going forward with the Chinese economy, especially with the housing bubble that never really burst, but is overdue to burst, and we'll see more problems in the economy going forward. This couldn't happen at a worse time. All the other major economies in the world, including, of course, Japan and the United States, are in dire straits. Our friend Gerald Celente often says, trade wars, currency wars, real wars. Well, this is going on as we speak. Solar panels hit by EC duties. What happened in a major ruling? The European Union has penalized Chinese manufacturers for dumping solar panels at below fair price, thereby hurting EU manufacturers. This has enraged China, and they have in turn responded with wine dumping probe. They insist that Europe has been wine dumping. Well, you can't really compare apples to apples there because there are no Chinese wines that compare to European wines. So to say that the EU is dumping wine is like saying, that they're dumping fake wine, which they are not. They're dumping actually quality wines in China, and it is more expensive than Chinese wines after the taxes. So it's difficult for me to have sympathy for China on this issue when you have two completely different products in quality, and this will continue. There'll be more trade disputes like this, tit for tat, and it's not going to get us anywhere. It's going to get us into hot wars eventually. And to close out, liquidity squeeze bleeds equities, although they insist that it will not affect the Chinese market. Here's the bank rate overnight, what it has done. Overnight Shanghai Interbank offered rate. Look how it's dipped. Equity's taken a knock. And in addition to that, economy is shifting to sustainable growth. Sustainable growth, what is that? Well, in this command and control economy, it means something different. It means you're not going to have double-digit growth. You're going to have growth that's going to be flat or a couple percentage points, but you're going to tout it as being 6 or 7%. That's how the Chinese do it. Take a 2% growth rate, add on some numbers that are fictitious, and get about 6%.